Hello, everyone. My name is Janelle McSwiggin, formerly Janelle Borowski, one gal, two names. And you're here because you're interested in health or medical writing, which I'm jazzed about. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We are here for another one of my free webinars in a series of webinars. So keep an eye out on this space. I have a few other ones that will be coming out. So without further ado, we are going to get this party started. Give me just a second here. All right. So we're going to be talking about what's my niche. So you guys picked the topic on LinkedIn. This is what you guys wanted to learn about. So I hope you guys find it super informative. So that's me. I own Willow Bark Health Writing. And yeah, I'm Janelle McSwiggin now, you guys. Pretty exciting. So who am I? Why am I talking to you guys? Who is this crazy lady? So who have I worked with? I've been in this realm for about 4 to 5 years now, working with a whole bunch of different clients on a bunch of different deliverables from medical writing to health writing. These are some of my bigger clients on here, Health Grades, Haymarket, Alphanumeric. So yeah, I'm also a master's educated registered nurse, and I come from the special needs space. A little bit about me. So what is health or medical writing? So it's when a paid writer researches drafts and writes articles on health or medical concepts. So there's a ton of little sub niches to this type of writing, which is why it helps when you figure out what type of writing you want to do, because there's so many, you guys, so many. Like my mind is blown just thinking about it. I've now moved into medical. And when I say I'm a medical writer, I get approached a lot of the time from people that are either in the space or recruiters, and they're not even close to the type of deliverable that I write. So it's just wild to think about. So we're going to go into how to find your niche, why that's important, and what are the pros and cons of niching down. So what's a niche? Why do I keep saying this? Also, some people say niche, some people say niche. They're the same thing. I don't know. I feel like niche is more elegant. So I don't really know. I'm a Boston gal though, so we're gonna go with niche. So a niche is just the type of writing that you decide to do. That's all there is. So you can decide to niche down through the type of writing, so your deliverable, or you can decide to niche down through like your topic. And we're going to go into that in a little bit later. So there's tons of choices. You know how like when you're working in healthcare and you decide to work with pediatrics, oncology, dermatology, there's all these different like floors, like acute, ICU, ER, all these little sub specialties. Niching is the same exact way. You have to figure out what you want and what you like. So some niches are higher paying than others, some are more competitive than others too. So you'll find that some niches are just more sought after, and then some are like really difficult to get into. That's particularly true with medical writing versus health writing. I mean, guys, some of these medical writing niches are really high paying, but they're also really competitive. So those are all things to take in mind when you are creating your niche. So why is this important? Why do we do this? So niching helps you target your efforts so you're not reaching out to every single publication. So instead of sending like correspondence to every single person that's either an editor or a writer or someone that can hire you, which is frankly mind-boggling and really exhausting and like a drain of your resources, right? Because you have to spend so much time doing this, you can start to target certain areas. So instead of, hitting everyone under the sun, say you just want to do neurology, and you're just starting to reach out just to neurology publications and editors that are just doing neurology. So you might have a higher success rate because you're just more targeted in your approach. So niching down also helps you advance in a particular area, because instead of having like a ton of different subjects that you write on, you're considered like the expert in one area. So they'll probably pick you for a deliverable versus like a generalist that can write about a little bit about everything, but doesn't know one topic to the core. So would you rather someone who knows cardiac like top to bottom, that is their bread and butter. Would you rather them write an article or take care of you if you're a patient suffering from like a cardiac abnormality? Or would you rather someone that, writes about cars, writes about celebrity topics, but then also kind of touches on cardiac? Would you rather them write an article for you? No, they're probably not going to have the same depth of understanding. And the same thing goes to the floor. Would you rather someone that has had like a cardiac patient in their lifetime take care of you, or would you rather the expert take care of you? You want that expert. Um, and that's why it becomes easier to market yourself if you know what type of writing that you want to do, because you're considered that expert. So just when you get niche down, it just gets a lot easier to know like what direction you're going in. You're not like spinning like a top, which is what I've heard from a lot of freelancers. They just feel like they're spinning and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what direction to go in. I'm like, there's like so much, and there's so many different publications and so many different options and so many different deliverables. So it just like really helps with that like overwhelming feeling right away too. So that's why it's important, and that's why I can help you. Do you have to niche down? No, you totally do not have to niche down. Some people remain what's called generalists, and a generalist writes about everything. So I'm sort of a generalist. There are some topics that I choose not to write about because I don't like them. I'm not a tech gal. I would rather just not write about tech. It's just not quite my thing. So I will decline anything that has to do with tech. I also don't like love maternity, just like not quite my vibe. So I'll also decline things that are maternity. And then I also have areas of like therapeutic interest that I will market myself towards. So infectious disease vaccines, as well as biotechnology and neurology. So I will take things outside of that realm, but that's really what I'm trying to hone in on. So this can also be like as loose and as strict as you want it to be, because don't forget, you are the business owner here. So you're in charge of your own destiny. You can also choose to niche down later, not at all, and you can switch niches. So I didn't start off like this. I forget what I started off as. I think I was strict neurology. All I wanted was neurology. And I decided to switch it up. So it's not like in nursing where you get 5 years into, once again, say like a dermatology like subspecialty, and then you can't really switch to maternity, or you can, but man, is that an uphill battle. It's not really the same, because if you can write a blog, you can write a blog, right? So it doesn't really matter so much if you've been writing about 5 years of dermatology blogs and you want to switch to cardiac blogs. They're going to see that one, you're super qualified as a healthcare worker, or if you're not, that's totally cool too. You're still probably qualified, and that you have the ability to write blogs. So don't get super overwhelmed or caught up. Is it important? Yes, of course it's important, but don't like be like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to do for the next 10 years. No, 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 it's totally fine. It's a different animal. It's not healthcare. So what can you, my friend, what can you write? I love this list. It blows my mind all the time. Like once you start actually thinking about how many different deliverables there are out there, and then so deliverable is the type, it's like what you write, and then you can niche down further into the topics. So let's say websites. So you can choose to write like websites for hospitals. You can choose to write websites for like smaller clinics. You can do social media posts for like med spa services, or you can do social media posts advertising a certain type of medication, or even insurance. So you can decide to do like different deliverables and then also different topics. So I mean, it's a rabbit hole, guys. I will say that the most common deliverable that people start out with are blogs. They're very user-friendly, very easy. They're usually what people start off. They're like the training wheel type of things. And blogs can be about anything. So you can choose to only do maternity blogs, and that's your niche with your deliverable, or you can decide that you only want to do pediatric blogs. You could ghostwrite books, you can do advertisement, continuing educations, you can do textbooks, magazine articles, regulatory documents. That's when you create the documents that help a medication or vaccine or treatment or a medical device get approved by a regulatory body. So that's a whole nother animal, which is a beast in itself. And then within that space, like you can concentrate only on Alzheimer's treatments and medications, or you can concentrate only on vaccine research or only on like neurological advancement. So there's a whole bunch of like different ways that you can like mix and match this. You can write even job descriptions I've seen. Um, yes. So there's a lot of, so the amount of different niches there are, it also means that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of jobs out there too. So, because I mean, you need someone to write all of these different things, right? Every medication needs to be passed and approved by the FDA. Every medication needs all these crazy regulatory documents. Someone needs to write those, you guys. That could be you. All of those video scripts that you've seen on TV or commercials, rather, someone had to write that. That could be you. So, I mean, the market is enormous for writing right now. And I do anticipate that it will stay enormous. So what are the pros to niching? It becomes easier to write when you're writing about one thing. I will tell you, I got amazing at neurology just because I was so used to it. Same thing I'm currently really deep in vaccines, infectious disease, that type of research. And it's coming to me easier and easier. I'm starting to like understand the words a lot easier, the lab values, what they're talking about, like the nuances. So the more you write about something, the easier it gets. And that means the faster you get at writing it. So the more money you're making because you're spending less time writing a deliverable. So you can spend either more time with your friends or families or more time writing a second deliverable. So it's a great way to really consolidate your time. Research becomes easier because, like I said, you're not like looking up those terms and you're like, oh my God, what does this mean? I've never heard this before. If you're writing in the same type of like area, like you know what it means. So you can cut a ton of time off of that. You can also start to network easier because the bubble is smaller for certain types of like therapeutic areas. So yeah, you can start to network and get jobs and referrals and everything a lot easier than if you were like, I'll do anything, just send me anything. So that's a really cool thing too. It's nice to build authority in a single niche. So that means we were talking earlier about you being like that cardiac expert because you've been doing this for so long that if it's you, the expert, or someone that writes a little bit about anything, they're going to pick you. And you can also recognize the publications easier that are hiring. So like, you know, the names, because you've been networking, you're in it, you know, the ins and outs, the nuances. It just comes easier. The game is easier. The networking is easier. It just makes more sense. You don't feel like you're as lost than if you're a generalist, like kind of dipping your toe everywhere. So what are the cons? So as someone that's niche down, if you niche down too much, you can close yourself off to opportunity and growth. So someone say you only do cardiac and someone wants a mental health blogger. I mean, if you're niched only into cardiac, you would politely decline that. So keep that in mind. You do want to make sure that where you niche has enough work to support you in the long run. So don't niche too down. You know what I mean? Don't like get too far down in like a pocket that you're like, oh man, I'm like the only fish in this very small pond. You also might get stuck in low paying deliverables. You know, healthcare has like really high paying deliverables. It's more like other like less technical deliverables that are like lower paying, but they can still happen. Medical is generally higher paying than health, but I mean, it's hard to generalize. But you could get stuck in lower paying deliverables. And also you can get bored with the same content. If you're just writing, about the same thing over and over and over again, that's what happened to me about blogging. And that's why I made the switch to something more technical. I just felt like I was like, oh my God, if I, write about symptoms and treatment one more time of this skin rash, I'm just gonna lose it. The good thing though is that like you don't have to stay in these niches. So like you can pivot at any point. At any point, you can start taking those mental health articles when you are that cardiac writer. Does it have to be where I have worked before? This is huge. This is probably the number one question I get. Say it with me. Absolutely not. Um, so I was a special needs school nurse as my main specialty. I love special needs kid. That is my jam. They are amazing, beautiful humans. That being said, I've never written an article about that topic, even though I've worked in it for so long. One, there's like no market in that, no market. It's just not lucrative. I'm sure there are small pockets of market, but not enough to sustain. That's what I was talking about, being like that one fish in that one small puddle. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make a career out of that. And I analyzed that right away. A lot of people suggested that I do that. They were like, oh, well, you worked in special needs. Why don't you start a blog on special needs? And I'm like, oh, like, I don't think it's not going to take off. There's no market. There's no marketability for that. And so this is the reasoning why we don't have to write where we worked. So in school, we learned about a ton of different topics. So we're qualified to write in different therapeutic niches without any additional certification. I mean, I did a pediatrics rotation. I did a maternity rotation. I was reading EKG slips. You know, we have learned so much. In school, if you think about it, we were generalists. You know, we didn't just learn one specialty. And a lot of that has retained with us. Not only that, but we were also taught how to research and research accurately, check your sources, and find everything. So if we don't know what something is, we know how to find it. So that's huge too. So we do not have to write where we worked. We are not pigeonholed like that. We do not need to seek additional certifications to qualify ourselves to write in a different area. We are already so qualified, which is amazing. That's a beautiful thing. So how can you find your niche? So it helps to ask clarifying questions to figure out what are your interests? What do you want to write about? For example, I love neurology. It's the bee's knees. I knew that that's just something I was interested in. And I love it. It's super, super neat to me. Learning about like cutting edge research for it, that is really cool too. So that's why I wanted to do the medical health writing, like medical affairs side of neurology. So that's kind of where I came up with mine. You can ask yourself like what type of person you are as well. What's your personality? For example, I had a wonderful conversation with someone who was so good at like knowing what other people were thinking. She was so good at getting into their minds and thinking like them and was so beautifully empathetic and just it was so wild because we thought so different. And I think she's going to make a beautiful copywriter because of how she thinks. I'm super academic. Like, I love research. I love really dense research too. Like, nothing makes me happier than like poring over a really long research study. So I knew that I really wanted to like look at really dense research. I used to write blogs and they were like, you only need three sources. And I was like, I want to give you 12 though. I can find you 12 amazing articles. Please let me do that. So instead of fitting myself into a niche that I didn't quite belong in, I found my pond instead. And it's much bigger with a higher ceiling for pay. So you also kind of have to reflect and figure out what type of person you are. How is your personality fitting into your deliverable? And kind of going from there. So a lot of it is really self-reflective. Your niche is going to be different than my niche, is going to be different than anyone else's niche. And it's okay if you try a niche out and you're like, oh, I made a mistake. This is not where I want to be. That's happened to me before. It's happened to other people before. That's totally fine. That's the beauty of switching around and trying different things. The other thing is doing market research to see what pays well. I knew that medical writing was going to pay well. I knew neurology was also going to pay well. I will tell you, I started off as a reptile writer, and that did not pay well. It got my foot in the door, but I was never like, you know what, I'm going to be a reptile writer, and I'm going to kill it because that's not realistic. So do market research to see what pays well. So look at different publications, see if they're hiring. Honestly, A lot of the time it's like looking on Indeed, job boards, newsletters, LinkedIn. A lot of the times like they'll post if they're looking for freelancers, that type of thing. Figure out what they're paying. That's huge. Make sure that what you're doing is sustainable in the long run. Not all niches are created equal. Not all deliverables are paid the same. That's huge. A copy, a white paper is very different than a blog, and one is paid much more than the other. Same thing with a website. You're going to get paid a lot more to write a website than a blog. A white papers pay way more than a blog. So figure out, figure out that balance. And definitely pick a less saturated market. Do your research too. Figure out how competitive, the market is. I'm in a really competitive niche right now, but I knew that it was going to be a challenge and I knew I actually wanted to be here. So I won't say pick a less saturated market. Maybe do your research on the level of saturation and prepare accordingly. And well, no, mine's actually not saturated. Mine's actually super competitive. So I'm sorry, guys. I take that back. Make sure it's not saturated. You don't want too many workers in there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so make sure it's not saturated. You don't want like a million people writing the same thing because you're just not going to get paid that well. So I'm trying to think of an example. I don't actually know a ton of health deliverables that are like incredibly saturated. I guess if I were going to pick one, it would be maybe blogs just because it's the beginner level. But I wouldn't even say it's so saturated that it's unsustainable and you shouldn't pick it. So I really don't think like any healthcare niche is like too saturated. So I think you guys are pretty good there. But if you venture out into healthcare, like celebrity gossip, like food, culture, everything like that, like there's a lot of really saturated niches out there. So be careful. Okay, so where can you get started and how can I help you? So I have the freelance writing masterclass that is for all freelancers who are stuck, don't know what they're doing, have never even had a client, have never set up their business, have never set up an invoice. That's for you. It will cover pretty much everything. It is my masterpiece, chef's kiss. So it is jam-packed with templates for invoices, for sending out cold emails, messaging people on LinkedIn. It goes over LinkedIn, what is it? Prioritization? I can't remember the word. It goes over LinkedIn. If you need help, that is the thing to buy. It is the best thing I offer. I also offer the portfolio building package. That's for people that are ready to go. All you need is your 3 to 5 pieces in your portfolio to get started. So that's like working with a real editor. I will edit your blog. It will be posted on my blog. And I will give a rationale for all of the edits. We'll be working in Google Docs, just like a real editor. And I'll be giving tips for you to improve your writing. So it's super valuable too, and that's one of my favorite ones. I also offer coaching packages in 4 weeks or a single session for people that just need more intensive help, or they have a question, or they just want like the banter of running questions by a real person. And last but definitely not least, I have a free newsletter for anyone that just doesn't want to spend money, but they want the tips. I won't give you all the tips, but there is some really good content in there too, and I'm happy to have you. So how can I help you? I can help you build your portfolio, explaining the different types of writing in a lot of detail, including generalizations about the prices and what might be a good niche for you. Writing cold emails, LinkedIn optimization is the word. Discovery calls, strategies overall, organizational strategies, writer's block, anything. We can work on pretty much anything in these coaching sessions, anything you guys need. And all of this is covered in the course, plus a bajillion other things. So this is where I would usually do our Let's Chat info session. So if you haven't joined me live, I definitely recommend it. I'm more than happy to take questions. And that's just about it. If we aren't connected on LinkedIn, definitely give me a connection there. I'm also taking questions there all the time. I'm super friendly and I'm more than happy to chat with you on there. So that's how you can find me, willowbarkwriting.com. That's me, that's my company, and that's my Gmail address if you guys have any other questions. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are going to be amazing writers, and I cannot wait to see your names on deliverables. You guys have an absolutely fabulous night. Thank you so much.